I'd like to introduce our first speaker, which is Jess Tyler. Jess is Communications Manager at the Antarctic Climate and Ecosystem Cooperative Research Centre, where her role is focused on delivering science outputs to decision makers in government. I've known Jess for many, many years, and she's been a science communicator for many years. In fact, doing one of the first science communication degrees in Victoria that existed at the time. I'm not sure how many years ago that was, Jess. But I'd like to welcome Jess to the stage.
Thanks, Jenny. It's far too many years ago. I shan't go there. I thought I'd share with you my role as the Communications Manager at the Antarctic Climate and Ecosystem CRC. Challenge number one, figure on name, terrible. It doesn't even fit on the super screen on the TV. So packaging up science into sensible snippets of information that we can digest is one of the key challenges in climate science communication. As you know, it's a really complex topic, and there are a lot of drivers and there are a lot of desires to understand more, and the impetus to communicate is very, very strong. I'm confronted more and more by people in government and bureaucracy to find out, I guess, the one-liners, the take-home messages, the simple statements about climate science and where we're at with things, so that people can make really large policy decisions. So my biggest challenge is being confident that I can tell them a figure for sea level rise by 2100, or the frequency of inundation event in the New South Wales coast by the end of next year, and have a solid understanding of the science and know that I've actually said the right figure. So for that, obviously, we turn to our scientists, and the challenge there is when scientists disagree about the key cornerstones of climate science. How do you communicate that? How do you build a dialogue and a communication around something so complex when the scientists disagree and the topic itself has major masses of uncertainty around it? We don't actually know what a natural system like the planet is doing, where it's been, where it's going to go. The models that we have to predict climate scenarios are themselves full of uncertainties. There are many, many different kinds of models, and who's to say which one we should pick and which one we should listen to? And the third major area of uncertainty is lack of data. We simply don't have long data sets. We haven't been around keeping records for long enough to truly understand some of these really long-scale, long-term climate processes that happen. So I've talked a little bit about the natural variability of the system. What are we looking at? The model uncertainty. So do our models adequately represent what we're seeing? And the fact that scientists have many different interpretations of the science, and then we have lack of data. So therein the challenge is, how do you talk about a concept that's shifting and changing, and you're on the run? The science is on the run, the planet is definitely on the run, and policy is being made on the run. When you consider that people are directly taking projections around sea level rise, ocean acidification, ocean fertilisation, and making massive international legal governance arrangements, pieces of policy that affect business, their incomes. It's as Tim pointed out, it's big stuff. So what I spend a lot of my time doing is thinking around progressive communication. How do you keep pace with what society wants to know when you know that you're not dealing with something that you can lock down in time and say, right, sea level's going to be this in another century. You have to keep adjusting your message to suit the market. That's not an unusual concept, but I guess my experience at the Antarctic CRC is that things are moving so fast. By the time we publish one bit of documentation, it's out of date, we've got to run the next one. So I'll share with you a case study, if that's okay. We publish a series of these booklets. They're position analyses that are designed specifically for bureaucrats and people in policy. And we distill all the best of the science that we know how to do around our brief in the Climate Change Science Forum. And we deliver those up through government to all levels. We go to all ministers, all the advisors, all the bureaucrats, all the middle people. And that's accompanied by a one-page summary sheet that goes out to those people as well, and much wider groups. And we also do media around these topics. And what we find is that they're short and they're sharp and they have a condensed message. And when you're done with that, you can update it progressively. We have edition 2, edition 3, and edition 4. So I guess what I'm trying to get across is that it's an example of a progressive communication that you have to keep following up and backing up and supporting with all of your other work to keep reinforcing those messages. So the challenge in producing these is that scientists are by their nature quite cautious and quite reluctant to get involved in policy discussion. They don't like it when they get pinned down into the corner to make a specific projection. We don't predict, we project. It's very important that scientists have that distinction. So I guess the challenge in the communication is to really clarify, to acknowledge that the scientists are feeling uncertain. They don't like to be pinned down, but you still have to keep messages rolling. So from a science communicator's perspective, you have to be quite adept at keeping messages short and sharp and continuously rolling. I hope that's made some sense. Yeah, thank you.